Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be fixing a couple of problems that I have found with electrical work. Right here we have the pipe going up to the sink. And I was just checking the ground connection and it's terribly corroded, but also back there I was like, well, did a mouse or something chew it? But no, those wires, some heat event happened. Something got, I don't know, shorted at some point. It melted through, and then it actually melted down the other wire right there. So we're gonna have to end up putting a box right here. We have to rerun some of this cable to the new box, and that should fix that problem. But I wonder what event happened. And then also, if you look over here, look at that. Completely exposed, so I'm wondering if the electrician who did this, they clearly cut corners. So I'm gonna check all the connections in there, make sure they're tight. I'll put a new faceplate on. But yeah, that's what we're doing today. We're here at the panel, and I've identified it as the dishwasher. So we'll actually swap this out today too for a GFCI breaker. So, turned off the power. I'm going to double check with one of these non-contact voltage testers if I can turn it on. Here, let's see if we can make it turn back on. It's not beeping on this wire going up to the dishwasher circuit. It should still beep on this other wire though that we got down here. Yeah, so this cable down here that we still gotta feed to a box is live. Here we are, we're actually just one joist bay over so that we have enough room to pull the wire through. There we go. You can see we already have the ground bounding jumper there. So we'll be able to hook the grounds right up. No problem. We're just gonna put in a MC connector, or not MC, sorry, an M connector. So let's pop this guy out. My box connector. Now this type of box connector actually clamps to the wire, the cable I should say. So it satisfies that like 12 inches of the box requirement. There we go. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that cable but further up, and then we're going to feed it up into the box. There we go. It's cut. And yeah, some event happened. I wonder what, but look at that, it's pretty chewed up. So let's feed it through. Obviously we're not going to save this old part. I'm just using that because it's easier to get it in the box that way. So we'll feed this through. Oops, hit the camera there. Feed this through, we'll leave about probably, I don't know, 6 inches or so. Let's pull the cable apart and see what was actually wrong with it. You can see neutral got a little bit of heat. You can see the discoloration. Ground, I actually see molten deposits on the ground, and the hot, I also see molten deposits, and it's completely exposed, so looks like somebody had a dead short there at some point. Good thing we're getting rid of it. Got me some Romex strippers. A bit of a pain, honestly, but just feed it in. There we go. After many hours of struggling, I finally got the new wire pulled. There were 2 wires in here, so basically we had a line coming in and load going out to the dishwasher here. But now what we have is we have line coming in to that GFCI. We have the dishwasher here, which actually, let's see if I can get a light on. It is dirty under here, but there's an electrical box right there. We actually ran a longer cord from there to the basement where that new junction box is. So we're still gonna have to put a GFCI breaker to protect this guy, but I'll show you that downstairs what we got. Here we are back in the basement. There's that original junction box we put in. This is the whip. Here, let's put a light up. This is the whip actually coming off of the dishwasher. We just used a longer SJOW. It does have a cord in, so we're gonna end up putting a receptacle right here. I'm just gonna plug in there. And then here, we can see the new wire we pulled. This goes up to that GFCI receptacle up there. So we're just gonna land that guy into there, and voila, we're done. All right, now here's the whip that goes up to that receptacle upstairs. So let me just get a screwdriver, open this guy up, and we should be able to shove that wire under here. So we'll just feed it up. There we go. Let's tighten this one down too. Now, whenever you're using a razor knife, be careful. Obviously it's sharp, so like you could get cut, but also you don't want to score it too deep, because if you cut the insulation off of that jacketing on the NM pipe cable, that could be bad. There we go. Now I only need about 6 inches of wire hanging out, so I'm going to trim these to the same length. You're going to want to get yourself some, cut a 6-inch piece of that NM cable, Romex, and use that for your jumpers. So for the grounds, really simple, just jumper all the grounds together. You can see I'm using Wagos here. And Wago, please sponsor me. I love Wagos, they're really good. Or as I know I get some comments, Wago, because they're German. So use Wagos. Jumper them together, there you go. Now this guy, now we got one going to the receptacle. If the receptacle fails, the rest of the circuit hasn't failed because they're all jumpered together. Now we simply do the same thing with your neutrals and your hots. So I'm simply stripping 3/4 of an inch roughly. Wagos, now they do have a strip gauge, so you can see this one's stripped a little long. So I'm just gonna have to trim that up using my wire strippers, or my diagonal cutters. That should do the trick. Wago. My other neutral. And now I'm getting that 6-inch piece of my neutral. There we go. Now let's repeat that for our hots. Now we just have to land our device. So black obviously goes to brass, white goes to your silver, green goes to ground. Usually it's what I start with anyways. So I'll make a hook, make that facing clockwise. Oops. I'll land my neutral. There we go. Now, especially because we are in a metal box, I'm going to tape this guy up because I do not want any accidental shorts in the future. You know, trying to help that future guy out. So that's what we'll do. I just finished wrapping up in tape. So now I'm going to put a mud ring on this guy. Now there isn't mud going here, but it's the easiest way I have to go from a double gang to a single device without it looking stupid. So we're just tightening up that mud ring. If I can get the screws, kind of a difficult place to see. By the way, this isn't in a crawl space. I should emphasize that this is very accessible. There we go. Just gonna put the faceplate on. And now we just have to replace the breaker out in the garage with a GFCI breaker. There we go. All right, this next part is probably gonna be the hardest part for me to film. Here is the 20 amp breaker. It is dark in here because daylight savings. So I have to remove all the screws to this front panel. I should turn off the mains. I probably will. Always do that, by the way. Always shut off the power before you work on it. I do have gloves and a suit I could put on, but it's big and bulky. So I'll probably end up just turning off the main, be as safe as possible. And then we'll get to doing this guy. But I feel comfortable enough removing the panel without suiting up yet. I've been in this panel before. So here you can see the breaker right here, the one that is turned off. That is the breaker we are going to be replacing. Now, a GFCI breaker and an AFCI breaker, but a GFCI breaker, you see the white pigtail? That's the neutral. So you actually have to land both the hot and the neutral of that circuit onto this GFCI breaker. So we'll do that. Oh, we also know there's some spider webs in there too, so we'll clean that up as well. We don't want to have an arc flash. So I think I'm going to probably turn off the breaker right here, suit up, and let's get to it. What I've done here is main power's off, by the way. Pulled out the wire, landed to that breaker. Basically, I've pulled it back and found the cable up here. So that cable, I got to take the neutral that's in that same cable as the hot, and I got to land that to my GFCI breaker. So you can see the little neutral pigtail coming off. So we have the neutral from the circuit landing on the breaker. And then we have the hot landing on the breaker. It's in the off position. So I'll put the cover back on and we'll turn everything back on. New circuit breaker's on. Didn't trip. Passed the test function on it. So we just got to check the voltage downstairs and make sure it's all good to go. But as far as today's project, I think that concludes it. We'll do the, oh, light's dying here. We'll do the grounding a different day. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. See you guys next time.